Thank you for joining us. Today I have Jyoti Bhupireddy from Purpose Financial. We are going to talk about databases and the remote DBA service and everything around it. I'm really thrilled to talk to Jyoti, who is an highly experienced data professional with around 15 years of expertise in database management and operations. Currently serving Director of Data Operations at Purpose Financials, where she's demonstrated her leadership in managing large-scale data systems and driving operational efficiency. Prior, Jyoti has spent 4 years as data manager in the same organization, building robust data infrastructure and ensuring optimal performance for the critical applications Purpose has. So before we dive down deeper, maybe a short description of what your company does, what the mission is, and the solutions that you provide to the customer.
Sure. So, Purpose Financial, our purpose is to help customers achieve their financial stability in the moment and in the future. We exist to offer a variety of innovative solutions and resources to meet customers' ever-evolving financial needs. So the family of brands that Purpose has currently is Advanced Medica, Perch Loans, and Fortuna Credit.
Nice. Okay. And then what does your tech stack or specifically the data stack looks like?
We are a data-driven architecture. So our primary focus is on the data and how it flows through the systems. Our on-prem infrastructure is hosted on both Linux and Microsoft platforms, distributed across two data centers, one serving as a primary and other as a secondary. For legacy RDBMS solutions, we have Oracle, SQL Server, and of course EDB. EDB as on-prem and also a cloud solution. Speaking of cloud, currently we employ two cloud solutions, AWS and Snowflake. In AWS, we're architecturally approved for databases to utilize EC2s, RDS, Aurora, Dynamo databases, specifically for the database needs. Snowflake is our dedicated data warehouse solution.
Okay, interesting. So you mentioned about Postgres or EDB Postgres. That is part of your day-to-day work and part of your database estate. So can you walk me through more in details as to how that's being used currently and which services of EDB have you worked with and how they have helped you with whether it was migration to cloud, because I heard you say both on-prem and cloud. So is there a migration going on or something?
We have this centralized repository database for which is EDB backend. Currently, the business operates on this database. We have loan operations, customer lookup, eligibility. All of this is happening through our Omni database, which has EDB as a backend. So since we are transitioning from on-premises to cloud, we are utilizing Postgres as backend, which is again the very good opportunity for us, not going or transitioning with one backend to another backend when we are transitioning to cloud. So we already completed that migration. Right now, this Omni database, which I'm talking about, is currently hosted on EC2 instance, and we followed the same architecture, just like how we had it in on-premises. Speaking of migration, I would want to talk to you about the remote DBA services, how they came into picture and how they helped us, right? Like when we decided to go through open source service, obviously EDB, Postgres, everything came into picture. We were managing it by ourselves, but we learned about RDBA, remote DBA services, and they were extremely helpful. And it was a whole game changer when we were planning this migration.
Good to know that. I mean, I lead the remote DBA services, but it's always insightful to hear from the customers who are working with the team that I'm so proud of, and they have been doing an excellent job across the customer base. So again, on day-to-day basis, any particular incident that stood out or unfolded, any core challenges that were tackled, and having remote DBA expertise by your side, how did it help?
So we were able to build out this robust architecture, right, with disaster recovery capabilities. We streamlined slave server to separate the workloads for business, CDC, and reporting. Our cascading replication worked flawlessly. Everything was going on. We included PG pool, which is highly effective in load balancing the microservice transactions. But after managing EDB production instances along with other instances, when we discovered remote DBA services, it changed everything, the way we were looking at the systems. This service it did not only help with the resource management, but it also provided a top level optimization, and it enhanced the system stability, which obviously everybody wants to achieve. When we were talking about a particular instance, we had a crisis a couple years before, and once remote DBA were onboarded, the as part of the health checks and looking at the parameters and everything, they were insisting us to change the backup strategy as well. We were having a backup strategy at that point, but it was not robust, and we utilized remote DBA scripts and included that in our production environment, and we were doing continuous backup restore validations. So everything was going well during the crisis, and this was something that I will remember forever, because this tremendously helped us to restore the database. I don't know how much time it would have took if we were operating on the other backup strategy, but this was a game changer. This is one of the incident that I can remember about remote DBA, apart from stabilizing the environment, for sure.
Yeah, and I think two things are at play here, right? Doing a review of the existing architecture, so the database health scan report that is provided, with which basically endorses whether the best practices are being followed or implemented, and where they divert from the advice or the best practices that should be done. I think that's where the team advises that, okay, having this would not only help you on the architecture side, but also it's very crucial during the disaster recovery. And what I heard from you is more around the incident, right? Because Sev 1 incidents are rare, but that's where most of the times the DBA team or the data teams are tested. And I think coming out of that incident very well, I think, and smoothly, effortlessly, and seamlessly able to whether fail over or able to recover out of it. I think that's where, and specifically with a very regulated industry with financial data going on, I think that's crucial for you, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
So any particular performance related, whether it's related to maintaining or monitoring the database performance, or anything that stood out that helped you?
We have large transactional tables. Managing and maintaining these larger transactional tables, and accommodating the microservices, accommodating the reporting needs is always a challenge. It all depends upon the activity on the database. We were watching for a good monitoring, and Sentinel came into place. So we do know that there are set of eyes that are watching the systems. We have our own monitoring tools, but we relied on the Sentinel, especially for monitoring Omni database. So they were updating us with any memory exhaustions, any storage issues. So this way, the systems, like, we proactively monitored, and we understood what needs to be done in terms of resource management. That way we are not impacting, and making sure we are accommodating the business needs when the system spikes up. Like there were a couple of incidents, more than couple, I should say, where we have a slave server. We do have our applications connecting through PG pool, hitting both primary and standby, and obviously with the large transaction tables, we do know that if there are extreme vol generations, it might impact a slave server. But Remote DBA was proactive. They always had a workaround to make sure we are not impacting the applications, we are not impacting the standbys, and making sure systems are running the way they are supposed to be. And they were proactively doing it. And especially on the large transaction tables, vacuuming was one thing which was again another game changer. We were doing a defaulted vacuum services, but they came in and they are like, let us analyze what's going on these large tables. During this time, even though it hits threshold, we would want vacuum to be not executed at certain amount of time. So they kind of gave us like, this is the time frame that we would want the vacuum to be happening. Ours is a 24/7 business, so we will not have that flexibility or luxury to do things over the weekend. So we came up, we utilized Sentinel, and we saw when is the activity that is a little lesser, where we can start these vacuums on those top tables, and it tremendously helped with the performance. And nobody else outside of the database even knows what happened, right? Like it was that seamless.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good point. Having the leading indicators drive the decision is very important for most of the businesses. Like, gone are those days where we can rely on the difference of time, where it allows us to be lenient about it and wait and watch. No, we all businesses need to take decision near real time, and then with production systems with high database sizes, we have to be very, very proactive. In fact, we are moving towards predictive, the next step, right? So I I see where this is coming from, and how this is very useful for you as well as other bigger organization. Earlier, when you talked about the database stack, I heard you say a couple of other databases as well, and I see it's more of an heterogeneous environment for you. Are there any scalability issues that your org ran into, or the heterogeneous stack is seamlessly working across?
There are issues, but we are trying to work around these things as we transition. Right now, our focus is to transition ourselves from this data center on-prem architecture to cloud solutions. Heterogeneous, I think we cannot get away. There are some dependencies that you cannot take over. There are some applications which definitely want a certain backend. So we are working as per the applications and the requirements of the business, I should say.
Would you shed some light on what about the compliance or any data security concerns? How has the remote DBA team supported Purpose Financial in those regards? Because I know with this proactive monitoring, we need both access to the database as well as having the monitoring solution deployed. So can you elaborate on any compliance and data security needs where team can help in? And then from RDBA side, I can always chime in.
Sure. So, I mean, like the biggest challenge admins face is to enable the access controls, security, making sure database is scalable to accommodate various business requests. So, I think when I look back, I think it was the best decision we made because we were transitioning through various cloud technologies. We have no issues integrating Postgres today. So in terms of just security, we are a financial tech company. We have compliance that we need to sign on. There is some PII data that we host on. We need to make sure the data is secured. The data is not transparent to certain group of services or group of users. So we scaled the database in such a way that the users are only accessing certain amount of data. The role based access is one thing that remote DBA helped us putting that together. Taking off that sensitive data again, microservices, service accounts, obviously they need the sensitive data. When we were migrating, we were changing the storage, we were trying to operate EDB on an encrypted storage with AWS. So there were few tweaks that we had to do when we were migrating it and doing a lift and shift from on-prem to EC2 instance. So RDBA were again very, very helpful. They were giving us workarounds, they were suggesting us what kind of storage we can use, like how this would be helpful. They were trying to map the resources that we currently have. So we were able to utilize the storage, and then again be compliant with the companies that would ask for the data to be rest. Data is encrypted at rest, cold storage should be encrypted. We have all of these protocols that we need to follow. It is a journey, it is a transition, but we got much better today.
Perfect. And yeah, I mean, just to tack on what you just said, I think it's important to acknowledge that both the remote DBA services also adhere to industry standard security practices and compliance regulations. You briefly mentioned about data isolation, granular access, role-based access control, cluster level permissions, encryption in transit, at rest, audit logging, all these things. Are baseline nowadays with the data that you just mentioned. So we were able to, I mean, remote DBA services is SOC 2 Type 2 certified. It's the security framework that SOC provides to for organizations to ensure how to safeguard the customer data, and we are really making efforts above and beyond the SOC audit that we went through last year, or we are going through currently this year as well. We are in the audit window right now. So yeah, I mean, again, not only the remote DBA team maintains sound auditable process pertaining to the delivery of this service, but there are set guidelines that are strictly followed and are always auditable, because that's very important for highly regulated customers like yourself at Financial, whether it's the data retention or disposal policy, whether it's the customer data handling policies, how it is being transferred or stored, the monitoring data, basically what the data collection software or Sentinel that you mentioned is part of the services that we provide, but it only collects the metadata, right? So what kind of checks, what kind of appropriate trend analysis or various things that we have put in place, how that helps. Authentication, you specifically mentioned, change management, review boards. So all this is basically not just asking you as a customer to do it, but additionally team doing it as part of their day-to-day ongoing work. I think that's crucial, and that helps to solidify security on both fronts, right? So I think that's really important, and I'm sure I heard you say that. Okay. Again, I don't think I need exact numbers, but would you be able to share any budget savings or any time savings or an ROI that Purpose was able to gain using Postgres, using other EDB services? I know PS professional services team was involved for some project, and then for your ongoing day-to-day work, RDBA has been a long-time partner with Purpose. So would you be able to talk on those lines?
Sure. So we utilized EDB for our new architecture and application initiatives. So I can confidently say that if we had chosen other options which we were already operating, we would have incurred 60 to 70% more in licensing cost due to vendor lock-in and other factors. Additionally, EDB has allowed us to achieve our goals more cost effectively while minimizing the risks associated with being tied to a single vendor. So that's for for EDB. For remote DBA services, again, the resource management, right? Like, we have other tech stack that my team was looking at with RDBA, Omni being a critical database, it was almost it's like, we are giving away something, and we were able to sleep peacefully knowing that, subject matter experts are looking at our systems. So resource management was effectively done, and I spoke about the crisis, right? They were like, they stepped up, they helped us with things which they were not even responsible for, to be honest. Like, they were with us. Chris was there with me, and he was like, let's go through the steps, let's put this together. As I told you, I have other tech stacks that we would have to restore, and remote DBA helped with this tech stack. So I think there has been so many things that I would say utilizing remote DBA helped us putting together and stabilizing the current environment.
Absolutely, and those are huge savings, 60 to 70%, and no vendor locking. I think that's major, right? So kudos. Great. Anything you want to share that we didn't get time to touch on?
Obviously, remote DBA has been a game changer for purpose, especially for the database team. We were able to operate the business the way it's supposed to be. We were able to scale the database. We were able to scale up and accommodate the business needs. We started off with one application, and today we have close to 30 to 40 different applications that are running on this Omni database. So I'm extremely thankful for you, for the remote DBA team, for always being there. If not for EDB, they are able to answer whatever questions we ask them. So kudos to you and your team. And I look forward to working more with you and stabilizing the environment and getting more databases done. So
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, again, we talked about ROI earlier, but I think staff augmentation, the increase of applications, the relationship that is being built over here, and being partners in the success for any of our customers, that's what we strive for, and that's good to hear from you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
thank you.